What is your name and age?
Ellen Jackson, 46.
What is your current job?
I'm self-employed. I own my own business, residential cleaning service.
What type of health insurance do you have right now?
Well, I'm self-employed, so I carry my own insurance through my business, but I go through United Healthcare PPO, which is important to me to have a PPO.
Is your access to healthcare something you worry about, or do you feel as it is reliable and will be helpful in a crisis?
I feel it's reliable because I have health insurance, but I do worry about it because the costs are so high and premiums go up all the time, every year actually, and the portions that even having insurance that you still have is very costly, and for a family it's a very big investment.
Would you feel comfortable having no health care insurance at all?
No, not at all. I wouldn't like that at all.
Explain a time when you had to be in the hospital for care which more or less your life depended on.
Well, up until now, it's been pretty routine, and just even with my kids, everything has pretty much been routine, what we've needed. But I last summer had a stroke, and then a few months afterwards I had heart surgery, and so it put a different perspective actually on being so sick and needing health care, because the costs for everything were so extreme, and if I didn't have health care, I would be drowned with all that debt.
How would have this experience been different if you had different health care insurance or none at all?
Well, if I had different health insurance, I might not have been able to be treated at the hospital that I was at. I actually was transferred to Loyola and got exceptional care, and it was.
And if you had none at all?
Well, if I had none at all, I would probably end up at whatever state-funded hospital, and I had a stroke, and I might not have been able to actually figure out the cause of the stroke without the kind of care that I did receive.
What would you have done if you lived in a poverty-stricken country searching for this type of care?
Well, if I was living in a poverty-stricken country, I probably wouldn't have been able to have the testing that I had, or the treatment I had, and I don't know if I would have recovered to where I'm at now. I mean, virtually everything, I don't know the right word, everything came back after treatment and physical therapy and occupational therapy and speech therapy. And if I didn't have those, if I lived in a country where I didn't receive that care, I physically probably would have been not the same, and definitely my speech would be impaired, and even my eyesight might be impaired, so my life would be different, I would imagine.
How has your health care continued to care for you after this treatment?
I've continued to see the doctors that have cared for me since the beginning, and figured out the cause, because typically at 46 you know it's not common to have a stroke, and I didn't have any of the real reasons, or the not the real reasons, but the typical things people have a stroke from. What was the question again?
And how the healthcare continue to like help you and aid you.
Because I've continued with the same doctors, and I've continued care with
So
them.
more on is health insurance and health like companies continue to like support you and like pay for you and like or when you need.
Yeah, I mean, basically, well, I mean, the healthcare's supported it because, I had this happen to me, and so I'm able to, keep continuing getting care from the doctors, and the insurance, paying for their portion of the healthcare that I receive.
Having experienced the hospital on a deeper level, was there any noticeable bias or discriminations on those looking to receive health care?
I don't know. I can't really answer that fairly, because I really didn't see outside of kind of what was going on with me. I was pretty, out of it, so I couldn't answer that fairly or not.
If you were a different race based on society today, do you believe your experience would have been different?
I hope not. I went to one hospital and was taken immediately to another hospital because they couldn't care for me at the first hospital, and I don't really think my race had anything to do with that. I think it was my health. But if I was in some, poverty-stricken area, I don't think I would have had that chance.
If you could change something about insurance or the healthcare process, what would it be?
If I could change something, that everybody just has equal care. It shouldn't be a dollar amount. Anybody, you line up 100 people that have cancer, they all should be treated to the fullest they can be treated. It shouldn't matter how much money they have or where they come from, or it's, the question should be about health and not money. And it's, to me, I know it's a business, but it really shouldn't be a business. It should just be taking care of people and giving people what they need.
So, in what you said, do you believe that like the system in place now and what is set up like now, do you think it's like fair to everyone?
No, not at all. Medicine's outrageous, premiums are outrageous, your deductibles are outrageous. It's very hard for most families to be able to afford insurance, and even when nobody's sick, it's the amount of money that you pay just to hopefully not need insurance and not need to be, and hope that you don't get sick, so you no, the healthcare system, I believe, is completely broken.
What is one interaction you saw or had that really left an impact on your view of the healthcare system? We can come back. If you could change one thing about your experience, what would it be?
The cost, I guess. I mean, I feel like I had really good care from doctors, but even having insurance in which I, pay crazy premiums and so forth that, a family shouldn't have to pay. What was the question again? I lost train of thought.
If you could change one thing about your experience, what would it be? So your own experience. About your experience, what was one thing you could change about your experience? It could be the process,
I understand.
something in the hospital.
Well, I understand costs. There has to be cost in caring for people, and but the markups and the amount that insurance companies do make, and it just needs to be a complete overhaul to the system. But it's kind of so failing. I don't even know how to do that.
Okay, so if we go back to the one, what was one interaction you saw or had that really left an impact on your view of the healthcare system? If you can't answer, it's all right.
No, I do. I can answer it. I guess the doctors, I guess it impacted me because I truly feel like my doctors have looked at me just not as, as a business. Like, they truly care about my well-being, and they care about my concerns. And, you can see why they do what they do. They love their job. They're not in it just to make money.
When were you most scared during your whole medical process?
Probably the second, third day. First day, I had a stroke, and I didn't really, kind of know that I had a stroke, and it kind of took a little while to set in, and I couldn't see, and being told that I wouldn't, they don't know if I'll regain my sight, that was pretty scary to me.
Were you trusting of your doctors caring for you?
Yeah, completely. I was. I kind of feel like I put myself in their hands, and
do you think everyone with the same diagnosis as you received the same care?
No, I don't.
Do you feel like your experience showed you any downsides of the healthcare system in the United States?
Yes.
Who was the most helpful person you came across during the whole process?
Most helpful? There was a lot of people that helped me. I would say my doctors, and just actually how they all worked together. Even though it wasn't collectively all the time, but independently, they all worked together to, try and get me back to be 100%.
Well, that's concluding our interview. Thank you for viewing.